Hello and welcome back to Mzanzi Back. It is that time of the night where we have to talk about what happened in that court. Hey guys, we were done early, but yabona ke nje mina ngizonitshela nje iqiniso ukuthi mina ngingwakwethu nje I've got ingane ngani iyo lehlezi khala. So kuye kumele ukuthi ngilekelelwe ngoba ngiyintandane. So ke ngihambe ngibuye ngisizakale sizwa yiwo wonke umuntu engisebenza naye. Right, so ke bekuseyileyo inkinga besaxabene kwesikhashana. Ngicabanga ukuthi seku right manje sesingasebenza manje, we are here to work, but we were done around 10 I think. So we've been fighting nalengane silwa seku right ke manje I'm here. Uyabona ke
sizo host
yes ngizobuye ngisukume naye ngiphume naye because kunjalo nje, unfortunately I have to work. There's nothing I can do, but ke Emily, the floor is yours for now because vele ke mina nje ngiqhele kakhulu. Let us hear how the listening went as they were revisiting the record with the aim that they would get something different. Let us hear then what happened.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Mzansi Reality YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us yet again for another video. Yes, the plan is to do 10 o'clock, but yes, life is happening. Okay, so we will do our best, but one thing is for sure is that we'll try our best not to fall behind. No matter what, we'll bring the live, guys. It's just that sometimes we'll have to be late, you know. So court started with a debate of what was to be checked on the record from yesterday. So the checking of whether Mr. Mnisi asked whether the alleged cell phone contact between accused number 5 and Kelly Khumalo could it have constituted. That was the question that Mnisi had asked in place to Brigadier Gininda, if it could have constituted a basis of the fact that this was a contractual killing. Pretty much the whole day he was hammering on pretty much this contractual killing theory that Brigadier Gininda obviously had presented in the courts. So before Gininda went on a terrain of explaining the evidence of kennel stain, the cell phone downloads of a transparent bag of monies which were downloaded of accused number 3, he was talking about all of that and not really answering the question that Mnisi was asking him yesterday. He even went as far as mentioning the transparent bag of money, that the pictures of that transparent bag of money that were found. It's a picture, it's not the money, it's not the actual money, it's a picture. And he says that this picture was downloaded on Kelly's phone, Longwe's phone, as well as accused number 3's phone. So Mnisi said that he stopped him on that part yesterday, that he wanted to explain the downloading, telling him that that was not his terrain. The cell phone expert already testified, and then the court interjected. Yes, the judge yesterday kind of interfered and started now to mention the XDS system, and he was saying that this was even 15 minutes later of me having asked the question, you know. And Baloy tried to reason, you know, or give a reason as to Brigadier Gininda's long explanation, saying that he was explaining how the evidence from Miss Kelly Khumalo's handset was retrieved. That's when Mnisi interjected and said that this is not the question that he had asked. And then they objected and said that the witness is still answering the initial question, and this second question had not been asked. So the judge asked, what are they actually checking? It seems like he also was not understanding the way this argument was going on back and forth. It seemed like even he was lost as to what will we be listening to the recording for, you know? Baloy said that they were checking whether Mnisi asked the fact that there was communication between Kelly Kumalo and accused number 5, and that was used to come to the conclusion of whether this was a contractual killing or not. And Gininda was also asked what they were checking. The judge asked Gininda, Brigadier Gininda Kutsi, what are we checking? And Gininda said that he recalled that Mnisi said that there seemed to be discrepancies or issues with the testimony. It seemed like he also didn't remember, in my opinion, insofar as the linkages. He was talking about Kellen Stein. And then he, at this point, I basically had no stamina to kind of rehash his whole explanation. I was lost. He started rambling again, trying to explain what he was answering, that it was not only the confession but other evidence from the cell phone that made him come to the conclusion that it was a contractual killing. But what I came to the conclusion of is that he also could not quite recall what Mnisi had asked him, basically. So he doesn't, in my opinion, listen to what is being asked. He just likes to ramble. It's like he likes the sound of his own voice. Instead of answering questions, he just goes on a whole thesis of things that he wasn't asked. And somehow, strange in love, the court allows it, Then people wonder why this trial is taking so long. People are now wondering, why is this dragging like this? But this witness is not helping the situation. And I know a lot of people would like to blame Advocate Mnisi for wanting to represent accused number 1 to his best ability by going through the transcripts and going through everything. But fact is, even if a new lawyer were to come, there's a possibility that this trial might not have even continued in May. It may have even continued summer next year, because they're going to need to look through the transcripts, 40,000 pages. I heard some lawyers comparing themselves and saying, I only need a week or 2 weeks to go through 40,000 pages. But that speaks also to the question of the kind and quality of representation that you'd be given to your client. In those 2 weeks, would you have enough time to consult all the relevant parties, to do your research? That can be done if you have a team in a law firm. But if you don't have a team, and you are an instructing attorney working alone or an advocate working alone, that poses quite a challenge. So the judge asked Ramosipile and Ngumalo what they were checking in the recording, and honestly, this moment for me felt like a high school. It felt like I was in school all over again, when the teacher would just put you on the spot and ask you random questions. I don't know, it just gave me those vibes. The judge asked the stenographer to play that recording back, but guess what? There was an issue with the recording. They did play the recording. They played it for I think it was a good 40 minutes or so. But there was an issue. The judge said that the court register had told him that there was an issue with the recording. So it stopped playing. That recording stopped playing. And the judge said that it stopped recording. And Mnisi posted it. It started recording when Mnisi had posted a question that there are experts who explained, not a person who says, according to my understanding, throwing shade there to... But then the judge asked the stenographer to confirm if it had stopped, because abantu bazothi ugwebela abantu esageni. This comment, we've heard it a lot in the proceedings on the Senzo Meyiwa trial. We've heard this comment quite a lot. I'm not hearing it for the first time, where he's saying that people are going to say, hey, ugwebela abantu esageni, meaning that he would be just convicting the accused for something that they didn't do, So the machine stopped, so it was going to record what was there after, so they needed to wait. The judge asked that they couldn't get to the gist of the dispute between them. So Baloy said that they got the gist. He stood up and said, "My lord, we got the gist." He said that it had been resolved. I don't know how it got resolved with him sitting there, but he had come to that conclusion, and the witness was asking the question regarding Kennel Stein. Mnisi disagreed with Advocate Baloy, and he said but that is not accurate. The court wanted to find out what was the dispute all about, And Mnisi then said the court wanted to find out what was the last dispute about. about. And I said, my last question to the Brigadier was around 15, and he said maybe I may be wrong in this estimation, because it could have been 40 minutes before that. The fact that it is alleged, it was alleged that there was communication between accused number 5 and Kelly Khumalo. Could that have been used as a basis to conclude that this was a hit? So the judge said that he must answer that, because since now the recording was no longer working, or it had stopped playing, now they needed to just move on. So he was requesting that the court proceedings begin with Advocate Mnisi asking that question again, because according to Mnisi, it hadn't been answered. He said that this explanation took 30 minutes. Mnisi confirmed that he wanted the question to be answered. Right, so the judge said it was okay and they must have progress. So the judge asked Gininda if he understood, and he said yes. The judge instructed the stenographer to start that machine, that recording machine again for today's proceedings, or for yesterday's proceedings. I'm not sure what time it is now, but for that day's proceedings, they needed to start the whole new recording. It seemed like if they need a replay or to replay the record, somehow they stopped the machine and then they play the record. So they had to wait for quite some time so that the machine can play for the recording of the day's proceedings. So there was a wait for the machine to start recording again inside the court. It needed to record the proceedings for the day. So that whole process of them getting to start the recordings was a bit problematic. There was a wait there. And as they were waiting, Mnisi asked on a lighter note, they forgot to estimate the score between the defense and the state. He was just joking at this point, I feel like he was trying to break the awkward moments of silences. The judge said that he did understand and he understood that they were continuing. Then he went on to comment on the topic of land expropriation without compensation and stuff. But in that moment of Nisi actually asking what the score was, I felt like he wanted to hear a ruling from the judge on what he was going to decide. But the judge said that he had decided that it's best for him to ask the question again and continue from where he had left off, instead of now the recording being listened to, because it had stopped playing, so they couldn't get the gist from the recording as to what actually happened. Then he went on to comment on the topic of land expropriation without compensation, and he said that he thought that it was exhausted. He said Mandela, Sobukwe, Kotani, Joe Slovo, Mabida, Sisulu, Tambo debated this issue 30 years ago, and he said that he knew because his uncle is Moses Kotani. Okay, that's information that I don't think we care about now, but
at this point in time, nobody cares. Lindy Obembe, thank you very much for your gift. Thank you. We appreciate it. I saw it. Just waited for Emily to push. But let's push the likes also, guys. We're on 212. Let's push the likes. Yes, no, we don't care really where the judge comes from at this point in time, because it does not help us. From what I'm hearing, oh God, I don't want to say this, but there's always clever blacks and the rest of us,
Yeah.
If you ask me, in my own humble opinion, where I would put this old man, he is sounding like a clever black.
The more he tries to speak on these issues.
Yeah, he is sounding like a clever black who just speaks recklessly. And he's not recognizing that he's in a public platform at this point in time. Some of the things that he say, I don't think they resonate well with the most people. Just that we don't make noise unlike others. If it was the other side that he was making such comments on, I'm telling you, by now he would have been apologizing or even be kicked out of this case. But it's okay, because we understand some of our brothers are like that.
But when they try to now recruit and just force everybody
who
to
said
think how
her
they
opinion
think,
is the best opinion when it comes to land expropriation?
because
His
he knew
opinion.
Mandela and his uncle was Moses Kotane.
That's a problem. If you feel so strong that you really don't belong to South Africa, then what? Pack your bags and go. And I can tell you for free, that notion of Khoisan and whatnot, that
It's
thing
false.
is just lies.
It's false.
It's lies. Because, okay, fine, I'm Zulu. Take me and put me where I belong. Which country do I belong to? Don't tell me about Kenya, because you are talking...
We're Congo.
Don't tell me about Congo. You are talking about people who migrated, some of them running away from shark. Where do I come from?
And you know what the awkward situation about this thing is? The people that are of similar tribes that are in your Kenyas and Congo,
They are saying
they
that
are coming
we
from
moved.
southern.
The Kenyan ones, recently they said they came from Mtuba, down there, that side of Mtuba. And then you tell me I'm
There's
from
also
Kenya.
Baloti.
Hey,
They sound like Soto. They are from Lesotho. They are not saying that they were from the Congo.
Guys, Khoisan, there was no such thing as Khoisan. All those drawings that you were learning about, there was Khoisan actually, but there was no such thing as expecting people who have a certain twang. It was us.
It was us.
It
All
was
of
us.
were referred as Khoisan.
Yes.
Every person of color in the southern of Africa.
It was Khoisan.
They came, they started now to take, and they gave us names.
Because, I don't even want to get into these things, because now you find certain people in Cape Town who speaks Afrikaans and they're saying they are Khoisans. I don't have any issue with that, because yes, Africans are
because
Khoisan.
they've got
Yes.
DNA of
Of South Africans, yes.
But
now, if you are going to go to public, that thing was said so that our land, we cannot fight for our land. And exactly that's what is happening.
Yes.
People, instead of fighting for their land, they're telling you now where you don't belong here. Where do I belong, Clever Black? Where do I belong? Take me where I belong, where I can go fight for my land.
So, the one who wins the war
Obvious are
wrote
people.
the history.
Hey, are people who are
It
having.
doesn't mean that
Are
it's
people
true.
who are having this land. These are people who are having this land. If that we keep on us as Khoisans, we keep on perpetuating that thing that there is a certain Khoisan that is not of the same blood as us, who speaks a certain language, like Hezebe people, these Tanzanian people, that it's a lie.
There's a video of this other woman who was from royalty, and she was talking about the term Khoisan and what it means. It's an abbreviation. But the problem is I forgot the Khoi part and what it abbreviated, but it's an abbreviation. And then San is South African natives.
Yes. Simple. And then you hear someone who just speaks, and an old man who reads, who claims that he reads. He couldn't fathom that.
No, but there's nothing that you can expect for someone who reads to consume information and not question it. He's giving me that sense that he just takes in information.
He's a liberal.
He doesn't do the research. He's not interested in hearing from people's lived experiences. And you cannot read books and not want to listen to people. You will end up being like that.
Make it make sense.
Where you
like,
take
honestly
another
speaking,
people's perception and view of you.
honestly
as facts.
speaking, if we are saying we are not from here, where do we come from? Where? Take me there where I can say it's
They
home.
said we come from Congo. It's their theory.
It's a lie, man. We know people who are coming from Congo, but I'm not going to say anything much. But the people who are coming from Congo, some of them, we can even understand some of the languages that are spoken there. They can relate. And then you say, we come from Congo. What? Okay, we came from Congo. What? We came here and we forgot completely how Congolese speak. Eh?
And we just created the
whole Zulu
lineage of culture that has
some other people just
of other cultures in but these conversations that he likes to start in Senzo's trial, they are upsetting because I wish he could just leave them alone. Right now, when we're tuning into that court, we just want to see justice for Senzo. We don't care about these things that are political, especially if they're going to come from him with his inferiority complex, in my opinion. I just feel like he should just write books. If he feels like we are ignorant and we don't know enough, he must just continue writing his
and
books.
See if it's gonna sell.
Yeah, he must just write his books and just leave these topics alone because he's upsetting some of us.
Right now, I feel, honestly speaking, people who are fighting for this land and say we are coisans are people who are actually fighting. They are a proxy group that are fighting so that they can take it and give it back to the people that
it feels
already have it. That's how it feels. I'm gonna be honest.
It feels like that they just want to make a profit of the land.
You cannot. And if you ask me, those people they relate more to those to West more than they relate to us.
Yes.
So okay, let's say okay, we have our own countries other than South Africa. Where okay, maybe I go. I find my tribe then in Congo, I don't know where, but okay, we leave South Africa, and then we leave it to the so-called Khoisan, right? Mm-hmm. Not us. It's not. We are not Khoisan. We leave it to the so-called Khoisan. When we come back, what do you think would have happened if we were to come back after 5 years? The land will be. This is the
homes.
South Africa is the best country when it comes to climate and everything. Basically, it is good for certain people. We know they want it.
I mean, there's that in Mpumalanga, that monument called Inzalo Yelanga. Apparently, it's over 200,000 years old, right?
Yeah.
So when he said we were not artists, and now I have to
think, we were not artists. Can you imagine the inferiority that this man is?
Actually, we just ate meat. I'm like, even. But
and what is artist? Fit.
At home. I was flabbergasted at those words. I was flabbergasted. Like, if you hate yourself, leave us out of it. Leave us out of it. We don't wanna participate in your self-hate.
And you can go bleach your skin if you want to. I mean,
we won't say a word.
We won't say a word. We had Michael Jackson. We were cool with it.
And then another distortion also that he came up with is this whole thing saying that Barwa, the Khoisan, were taken out by other tribes. And I was like, oh my God.
Let me ask you.
Oh my God.
Which Khoisan?
You know, I have a grandmother who was Barwa, what they would call back then as Bushmen. She said when these people came here, they stripped them away from their culture. They went as far as forcing them to speak Afrikaans. She said they used to put a rod of hot iron in their tongue to force them to leave to speak their native language.
And guess what? The Khoisans that we have, I'm sure, unfortunately, you can't see me on camera. The Khoisans that you have, they speak Afrikaans.
They speak Afrikaans today.
So now we should give land to those people and say, oh, take KZN. Which one is going to claim KZN, Bushmen or Khoisans?
And they were not the Khoisan. They had names, different tribes that had names. Those names were taken away because every person of color that was found by these people when they came in, they termed it Khoisan.
No, I
But
can
they
tell
were
you.
not
I can tell you
Khoisan.
for free.
There's no such thing.
I can tell you for free. You
There's
know,
no such
those
tribe.
people. These people. They did a number on us, Emil. They did a number, and there is always option number 2 for everything. You know, you cry for land, they tell you took it from Khoisans. Where are those Khoisans? They don't exist. Now,
They just want to feel
everything
okay
that we
harboring
believe
and hoarding the land. They just everything they do is to program you to believe that you are incapable of leading. You are incapable of doing stuff for yourself. You need them to lead you. And that is the problem that now I have with these people with inferiority complexes that like to have platforms and speak. They upset me because of that. And that's why I don't like to talk about politics. I don't.
Because we are not ready to speak the facts.
Truth.
We are just going to be playing around and speaking in circles and saying nothing. You know, if we were to speak the truth, I mean, the honest truth, we should be ready, for example, to say, without being divided, to say what happened in America yesterday was a lot of, I cannot even say a word, but it's okay. We cannot say that, right?
No, we
because
can't.
that's this politics of we are still I don't know whether we are sensitive, but I feel like it's a mentality thing.
I'm concerned that he was representing PAC people.
Can you imagine, bro?
I was not expecting this mentality from someone who used to fight for.
Don't you expect Kakani to be the one representing?
I expect that mentality. Like, this is scary, man, that he was representing PAC people in courts. Like, let me leave it. You see why he needs to stop talking about politics? Because now we have to think deeper now about him. Was a PAC as your client safe? was so now just go write books.
Be careful of the law. You know, me not before I from now, if I was to get a lawyer for anything, God forbid, looking at how this South African law is dealing with people, I need to have this conversation with you, you know? Just throw in a political conversation right there and let's hear your views. What are you thinking?
Where you stand.
You know, where do you stand with capitalism? You know, stuff like that. Let's hear from a lawyer's point of view. You know, lawyers normally, most of the time, they are political. When you start maybe at varsity, you start representing people at varsity through a certain student organization.
Yes.
And most of them, you'll find them there. So let us have that conversation before you go and represent me. I want to know, because an answer that comes from you, that answer is going to tell me if you're going to represent me properly, like Ms. now is representing accused number 1, or you are just going to go to court to shine and look good and accept whatever that is given.
And if you're going to have a lawyer with an inferiority complex, might as well just get the original. Get yourself a lawyer of no color. Like,
exactly. You get me. Though, because even though they might feel that they don't need to represent you, but because they don't want to lose, they're not going to lose your case. Do you understand? To them, winning is important.
It's important.
So I might as well. Most people were criticizing Julius.
Yeah.
Look at why Julius actually takes people of no color as his lawyers.
Yeah.
It's exactly for this
now
reason.
I understand. I forgive him. Now I get it. I get why he's taking white lawyers.
Any day, any time. Because listen to what this old man say. And then you have someone like that who's going to represent you in a song that you were singing that is actually sort of poking on the other side. What do you think she's going to say? Isn't she going to say, it's fine, take it, accept it, it's fine. There's no way of winning this?
Yeah.
But it's fine. Just wake up, guys, because one day some of you are gonna have someone like this. Just because someone went to
When you're in
vets
serious
or
trouble.
went to tax or went to, it does not necessarily mean that they are good lawyers.
Just pick their brain on
Pick their
social
brain.
issues and where they stand.
I'm sorry, even when it comes to dating, I start there.
Really?
I start there. There is no way I'm gonna have someone in my house who check even the comments you make. Oh, this person, what comments does he make when certain like what happened yesterday? It's a good measure of what kind of a person you are going to marry. If you look at the comment there, those who are uploading certain people, you must know for sure that you are in trouble. You are in deep trouble. But let's continue, Emil.
Yeah, so Baloyi also, okay, just after this conversation, now the stenographer was working and Nisi resumed his cross-examination. So he asked whether the allegation that Kelly Kumalo was in contact with accused number 5 drew the conclusion that this was a contractual killing. And Baloyi could not accept defeat and wanted Gininda to continue explaining things he was not asked. And it made me wonder, in my opinion, about that recording that stopped, but moving on. He said that there was no such question and the judge confirmed that the question was there. So at this state, honestly, I felt embarrassed for Advocate Baloyi. I just feel like you're gonna keep fighting. You are going to keep fighting. That's the spirit.
The fight. You know what is fun about this fight? The fight is not about, in my opinion, the fight is not about just for the sake of law. Nisi, he played them. He also played me. As I realized as he was going, because it seemed as if
he seemed like he was not prepared. I have to be honest. But I was like, I am holding my breath. Yeah, I was holding my breath the entire time. But then at the end, I was like, gotcha.
He's actually attacking the head now. Nisi's attacking the head. He's attacking, and guess what? They don't have answers. No. And the fact, what is nice about Nisi? At some point, he was a prosecutor, so he understands the nitty-gritties of what needs to go where in this pot. So you cannot lie. So that's why he kept on saying, "I'm not blowing my own trumpet," but he knows what he's talking about. So you can rob him with one section that you need him to stick on and say, this is what needs to happen according to. He is going to take you through the whole thing and say, this was said because of that. And you need now to argue that. The judge tried it to confine him into whatever that section that Baloyi raised and objected with. He refused to stay in that area. He said, let's open it, the arena wide. Let me first explain why this is and the explaining was on point, because I'm not a lawyer, but I understood what he was saying when he said, you are talking about this the building of the house, the main structure, the foundation. This does not cater for that. That is what you cannot alter. What you do where you decide to cut after building, you decide to build a house without a window, it's okay. That is a different story, and that's what Baloyi is objecting on. But I'm talking about the foundation where you cannot alter. It is supposed to be the case. You cannot just start building from in the air. You need to start down there. And that is important to have it. So I was so excited because he made a very simple example that for everyone to understand.
Yes. I was like, I kupuga la because that law that he quoted to Advocate Baloyi kind of threw me off. And I was like, okay. But then the way Advocate Nisi came back,
they've done this a lot. I think Nisi has seen that they've done this a lot. They have been allowed to actually do or confine people in this case to whatever, and you would believe it because you go read that section. You know that's a problem.
But
you can't
they take it in piece.
Yes, and it helps them. So so in a sense, what they were saying, they are not obliged to actually give the indictment or to actually let the people they are charging know exactly what. That is how it felt.
And it's legal. According to how they were
according to how they, if you read that portion that they sure it fits.
So the judge asked Gininda to answer the question for the sake of progress. Gininda answered and wanted his step-by-step answer to continue. And he said it is correct to say communication. The confession of accused number 1 also says Miss Kelly Khumalo was the trigger point. The confession of accused number 2, Kelly Khumalo's name also comes up. It is in the confession of accused 2, and the names of accused 2, accused 3, 4, and 5 came up as well. Gininda told the court about how they discovered that Kelly had 4 numbers she had not disclosed to the police.
I'm sorry, Emil. I want us to understand why Mnisi is hitting this like this.
Yeah.
How many times have you heard the name Kelly?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. I've lost count.
For example, Kelly lost the phone. According to the same case.
Yes.
Again, Kelly called someone.
Yes.
According to this case.
Yes.
So Kelly is in a certain stage of this case, basically, if you ask me. She is the one who called these people, for these people to come or even know the area. If it was there, it was because of Kelly, according to this case.
Yes.
And then you are now changing the structure. You say, no, there was crime. Crime is crime. There was crime, there was shooting. That's it. While on your indictment, you put such things as the reason why you were decided to go for these people. You say these people, they were in connection with Kelly, where you even used a WhatsApp that was not existing or BBM WhatsApp that was not calling. Do you understand? You build your case. Then when you're in court, you say, no, we don't know why you went there. You killed. Let's focus on that. After you have put these things on your indictment as the reason why you are arresting these people, that they had a mastermind who was telling them where Senzo was or what was happening, the cause of them coming to shoot. Now you are in court, you say, no, it does not matter. What matters is that crime is crime. You take me away from my people, my family, on the basis that I did something, I was sent by someone.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
To go and kill.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. The case is accepted as that. Then when you have to arrest people, no, you say, no. We don't arrest this one. Go and investigate further.
So you don't arrest the person that you are saying sent me to do the crime.
The mastermind.
And you know that person.
You know that person. Yes.
Or you have a suspect.
Exactly.
But you are not going after them. You only choose to come after me.
Yes.
It's not right.
For what good reason?
It doesn't feel
For what good reason? You remove that mastermind thing. What do they have?
They have no case, in my opinion.
Do you understand?
In my opinion, there's nothing.
So now it's like they are sneaky.
So what are you going to say that they killed 4? Or what? The story now changes. And if the story has to change, is there a case?
Because a stolen phone is not a stolen phone if they were coming here to kill on an instruction of kill. That then was not a stolen phone. So you need to remove that part also. in your charge sheet.
Yes.
You can't say that phone was stolen. How can I steal your phone while you are the one who actually brought me in that house?
Yes.
So I want to see why it is important for the structure to be clear. Why these people are they intruders? Because if they are intruders, then the issue of cell phone that was taken, yes, it sticks.
It makes sense.
So now, crime is crime. What kind of answer is that?
From a seasoned prosecutor who has had a conviction rate of 100%.
You were getting your 100% on the basis that crime is crime. You didn't tell people why they were arrested for.
And why they're in court.
Why they were in court. Crime is crime. That's it.
Well, he said that it was during the probe of an allegation contained in the confession that Kaylee referred to as sisters. There's a confession that says sisters. To even say that the sisters they were referring to Kaylee, that's what he's saying, had communicated with accused number 3. He said the number associated with accused number 1, the name was stored as NA. There was no name, and these are the factors that they considered, that they said that they could not establish any relationship that could be reasonably explained. So this number NA that is there on the Excel sheet that Stein was working on, however, it's not on the PDF. Right? Or in the PDF, it belongs to somebody else. It belongs to Mbeki Sen or something. I don't remember quite correctly. But on the Excel sheet, it was stored as NA, and he said that there was no name, and they saw that this number had contacted Kaylee, and they established the relationship, so there was no relationship. He went on and on trying to explain how he came to that. And he said, for example, if they were relatives, can you record your relatives as NA? He's saying also that efforts were made for this number to be deleted and concealed. So to him, they then discovered it, or it was then discovered. And he had said he forgot to mention that yesterday.
He's saying the number was saved in Kelly's number as NA, in Kelly's phone as NA. In
accused number 5. No, yeah, in Kelly's phone as NA. Yes.
What, not available? Nothing available,
no name, just
no name.
NA. The name was NA. And then he said that there were efforts for this number
Wasn't
to be deleted.
NA because it was not saved?
It could be. Because
you know what?
Anything is possible.
I'm convinced that number was saying NA because it was not saved there. So what happened if you export numbers to Excel? There is no name. Remember,
and then it can say
and then
NA.
It says NA.
God, I didn't.
I'm telling you.
In Excel.
I'm telling you.
Excel does that.
So in a space NA? Where it says a name, it says NA. If those people, they can actually take it and say, give it to us. Let's look at that NA. I'm telling you that NA is the name that is not available there.
So could they have even go as far as insert?
In fact, remember now, once the number is there, it can be inserted. And that NA
in the PDF that came with Pinky Fenthilen Camp, that number was not there. That's how we are strongly convinced that this did not happen.
Number
this phone call
could have been
happen.
Sneaked in. In fact, that NA is their line of defense. If they could just scrutinize that file. Because the number is not available on the other side, but it's available on the other side. And then all of a sudden the calling, it comes in something that did not exist at the time, or it comes on basically it's funny how when you go to court and say the number was saved as NA, are you sure it was saved as NA?
Good question.
Who said it was saved by NA? Can we see the original export of
where
that?
Where
you downloaded that?
They're gonna say, "Oh, it was 2014."
So this
bring the XD. XDY file.
You know what? What makes this case funny? As you start thinking about these things, there, when they say them in court, and then you sit down, who saves a person got NA? Who does that? That person was not saved. Means that number was not saved.
I wonder when we mentioned that
So in a line of your checking, it's just that they don't have data analysts sort of to actually look at that data. Because another question that they should have asked is, what happens if the number was just a call? Because now people are going extra mile. People are exaggerating things, maybe saying the number was deleted.
There was attempts to erase the number by Kaylee. Yes, that's casting aspersions.
If you ask the question, okay, you are saying you recovered this number. How did you recover this number if it was deleted? What method did you use to recover this number if it was deleted? Now we are putting an assertion that the number was deleted, which is actually creating even more doubts on my client. How did you recover it if it was deleted? And how did you see it was deleted?
And where did you recover it from? Because
where did you recover it from?
In the PDF file that Pinky Fine says that she sent you.
It's fun. And you know what? If you're an amateur in certain things, like you can be a master of everything, you're gonna be an amateur of Excel. You know, you're going to make silly mistakes that when we think of like this one, NA, it's normally when instead of populating something, there's nothing there. And then it brings value. If it's Vacha on the side, brings values, and then
it's pretty much like an error of some sort.
Yes.
I remember.
Yes. Others,
I used to get those NAs a lot.
You know, because such questions.
My formula either would be wrong or that cell that I included in the calculation didn't
such
have.
Questions, like a simple question.
Didn't have a value.
If you ask, Stain. So what do you do with the numbers that don't have names? Because you have that part of if error, and then you tell it to populate nothing. Or what do you do as you're cleaning your data if the number does not have name?
Stain is hurtful. I don't think it'll be coming.
NA, Jesus.
I think it would coming back because Stain is really. So now he spoke on the fact that after doing profiling on accused number 3, 4, and 5, he found that they were already serving sentences. It was at this moment that Nisi reminded him that this is exactly what happened yesterday, okay? And he was saying to him that in today's proceedings, they were almost 20 minutes in, and his question had not yet been answered, you know? Eventually, he said to him, "You are coming up with evidence that is inadmissible against the accused in this trial because what you are saying now, that's character evidence." And Mnisi asked, "Do you agree that this is character evidence, which is inadmissible? And as a high-ranking officer, you know you don't need to do that." Gininda said that he felt that he needed to explain how he came to that conclusion. And he said that he said to the DPP that he submitted that it was not a robbery gone wrong, it was a contractual killing. Because this is Brigadier Gininda saying it, okay? He said that to the DPP and he submitted that it was not a robbery gone wrong, it was a contractual killing. Gininda. Kana, he's not answering the question he was asked. But now we reach this point where he says this. And he said that it was not his intention to speak on character evidence when pertaining to speaking about
he has been
accused
doing
number
that
3,
with
4,
the
and
greatest
5,
respect,
with
my
the
lord.
greatest respect, but he died. He does speak.
Long time ago, since when Ngomezulu was still here,
Yeah.
he has been doing it.
And he says not to defame the accused.
But with the greatest respect, I don't think that is possible. You know, he's been giving opinion, and they fought with Ngomezulu because of that thing.
Yeah, they did. And he apologized, and Mnisi accepted his apology. And Mnisi moved on to ask him about the process that the Office of the DPP will do. He was explaining what they do, the office of the DPP, when arriving at a particular decision regarding whether to prosecute or not prosecute. And he said to him that it's a very meticulous and a tedious process. So Baloyi objected, saying that it is for the third day that council had been busy with the same issue. It's the reason why this issue is being revisited again, over and over again. And he said it has been sufficiently canvassed over the past 3 days. Why doesn't he try telling the witness to answer the question instead of going
Instead of answering me on this?
It could help if you could stand and say, Mr. Gininda, please answer the question. Listen to the question and respond to what you are being asked. Because this whole attempt of trying to create confusion, Mnisi lives for that. He strives.
It's a very good strategy. He is able to juggle around and move around, maneuver around these things, and not forget where he wanted to go. I think he studied how when he was reading the records, he saw that this man
studied how
he
answers.
Once he answers something else that he does not want, he leech on it, and then they go for like good 30 minutes, and then he comes back and say, the gist of the question was.
Which is why initially I was telling, I even made the comment to say these long answers will entangle him. These long answers are going to provide more information. And you don't want to find yourself in that position. Because I know for instance, in the US, the lawyers are going to pounce on you if you're going to answer the way Brigadier Gininda is answering. If you've got a seasoned lawyer, they will have you for lunch.
Yeah, they will.
So he said that it had been sufficiently canvassed over the past 3 days, and he really did not want the office of the DPP to be questioned to Advocate Baloyi. And Mnisi said that he was not sure what the issue were those that have been repeated for the past 3 days. The judge said that this witness doesn't select or make decisions about charging. And Mnisi argued that it is public knowledge in the NPA Act how the prosecutor comes to a decision. So they were trying to now create the impression to us laymen that we are not supposed to know how the NPA makes a decision when they prosecute. And Mnisi nipped it in the bud and said, actually, this is public information, and he's saying that it's available. And Mnisi now went to Gininda. He continued to ask him. He asked him, they serve as a filter from what they received from the investigating team and what they need to go and present at court. And he said to him, I've got no doubt in my mind that in this case, that is exactly what happened. Mnisi said, you said there was a warrant of arrest for Kelly Khumalo, which was not authorized. And Gininda said, that's correct. Mnisi asked him, what was the reason why that application was declined? And Gininda said it would not be correct to say that it came from him. It was not from him. It was initiated from the late Ngomezulu during the trial, within a trial, and such a statement was read. He said he indicated that it was due to further investigations which needed to be done, but the strategy on the case was also taken. And Mnisi said he did not understand his answer, and he told him, please make me understand the reason why application for the warrant of arrest against Kelly Khumalo was declined. The judge said that his language use was incorrect. He told Mnisi that he's using the term declined, and the judge said that the NDPP not only takes a decision on charging but also on authorizing a warrant of arrest. Judge Mokwatling said that
I think Rata was actually supposed to get old as a prosecutor. Simple.
He's
in my
love
opinion,
with being a prosecutor.
he's not even on the fence. He's on, in my opinion, I feel like he's on the side of the states. When he's speaking about states, he feels like he's speaking about his team.
Yeah.
So I don't think he should have been a judge.
He should not have been a judge.
He should have been I can almost see now, without even counting the number of times when he was a judge, how many times the state won because he was a judge, or I can tell you the number. If we have like out of 10 cases, maybe one would be won by an independent advocate or lawyer, maybe. Then the 9 should be won by the states, if it's you versus the states. That's my feeling.
So Judge Mokhatling said that if the NDPP, the National Director of Public Prosecutions, does not authorize the warrant of arrest, then there is nothing that the police officer can do to persuade him to perform his duties. He cautioned and asked for clarity on Mnisi's use of the word decline in describing what appeared to have been an unauthorized warrant of arrest. Mnisi fixed his question to who did not authorize it. And Gininda said that there was no decline. They never reached a deadlock with the DPP, where they said that despite this evidence, we don't want to charge. There were further instructions, and the approach that the DPP wanted to take in prosecuting the case, Gininda said that was not his terrain. He can only present what he has and take guidance from people who want to prosecute the case. He said it would not be correct to say that there was a refusal. There were certain discussions, but they were not in a position to say despite what they see, they don't agree, or they agree or they refuse. So he said it would be difficult for him and unfair to speak on position of the NPA because he doesn't think that he has the ground. He did his part and presented the evidence that was discussed. So Mnisi said what was the further instruction for? And Gininda said that the procedure, when you submit the docket to the DPP and you leave, you don't sit waiting for a decision. It is very difficult to say why that was the instruction relating to Kelly Kumalo and how it was taken. He said that he was not qualified to speak on it. And Mnisi asked him the final point. The instruction that came from the office of the DPP was go and find more evidence to connect Kelly to the accused person. And therefore, on those basis, we won't authorize that warrant of arrest against Kelly. It should not be issued. That which you presented trying to link Kelly to the commission of this offense. The DPP looked at it and found that it's something that they cannot use to drag Kelly into the court. Baloyi objected at this point. I was hoping he would tell us why he did not approve Gininda's warrant of arrest for Kelly, but that's just me wishing for too much. I was like, Mr. Baloyi, that's your moment right there. Tell us. But he chose to say that he does not understand why this line of cross-examination was being directed to the witness. He said the witness said that he does not know why the DPP took this decision. He said it's unfair to ask this question to the witness. He said he can't take it further than that. And Mnisi then said maybe the state is listening to another evidence there. And Baloyi chose to deflect and accuse Mnisi of making obnoxious comments. Our learned colleague needs to stop with these obnoxious. Well, this is said that this witness says that I'm unable to take it further than that. But because he's such an elaborate person, he finally comes to a point where he says that he was instructed to go and find more evidence to connect Kelly to the accused persons. That is why I'm saying that the state is not listening to the same evidence that we are listening to. And the judge decided to side with Baloyi on this one and said that he had lectured about discourse of court proceedings witnesses and read how they must not address each other. And Mnisi said that it was best for the court maybe to keep quiet. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, they made their bed, let them lie in it. I can agree that's what Baloyi says whenever he's not told that is not a good thing to say, you know. You shouldn't lie in your bed and lie in it, you know.
I've never seen anything like this. Hey, we have characters. Yeah, in this world. God, who's begging about character?
Well, he said that Baloyi would interpret him as saying that he was drunk. That's him. That's on him. That's not on Mnisi. That's not what Mnisi said, you know. And Mnisi also came and said the reason why it was not authorized is because you needed more information. And Gininda said yes. And that was complied with. And that is why there was this application, the warrant of arrest in November 2020. So Gininda said the further instruction was around saying, do further investigation and establish if there were links between Miss Kelly Khumalo and the accused. And he said that was his response. Mnisi said in brief, you submitted docket and memorandum for Kelly Khumalo's warrant of arrest, and the DPP decided to indict these 5 accused and gave you instruction to go do further investigations on whether Kelly Khumalo is linked to the accused. And Gininda said that was part of it, but also to find evidence linking her to the offense. Mnisi then said in the meantime, there were warrants of arrest for these accused. And Gininda said yes. And Mnisi then said to him, around November, you took the case docket with whatever you unpacked subsequent to the indictment of these accused, and you went back to the DPP in 2020 regarding the arrest of Kelly Khumalo. Gininda said that was correct. And Mnisi said in the case before Judge Maumela commenced in the High Court, and up until that moment, a decision had not been made to charge Kelly Khumalo. And Gininda said that's correct. And this is despite new information in the docket in November 2020, which you submitted. Gininda said, yes, that's correct. It was in November 2020. Mnisi then said to him, now at the stage where the DPP decides to indict the 5 accused, but with regard to Kelly, let us see if the information that would come up for us to be able to give out the instruction to indict her. But for now, we do not indict her.
This is calling out double standards.
Baloyi said that he was misconceiving the evidence of the witness.
And you see how Baloyi is entangled to this case to such an extent that when Mnisi is attacking the DPP, that Baloyi, when he was questioned, he said, no, the decision is of the DPP. And then now, every time Mnisi hits, it hits Baloyi. And then,
objection.
Because she was there taking the decision, now she keeps on objecting. She's going to turn red. It's dark, though.
He said the witness has confined his response not only to the evidence but also to the strategy, which counsel does not touch upon. The witness has said it also boils down to strategy. So it's not only about evidence. Mnisi said he can talk about what is before this court. This court is not concerned about strategies. It's only concerned about what is before him now.
He's answering for the DPP. It's a strategy. We are going to arrest them in piecemeal. Yeah, that's what he wanted to say.
And he said, I can only confront this witness about what is before this court. And what is before this court is what this witness has said about Kelly. But he said the issue pertaining to Miss Kelly Khumalo is a collateral issue. He said it should be put to rest. No way. He said it doesn't help to pursue that issue over and over and over again. No way. And no. He said that's what the law said. The law says that, really? Does the law say?
It says don't go to kids.
The law says you must not question why people that are said to have been accused number 6s are not in that court answering to their accusations or cases. That's what the law says according to Advocate. The law says do not question the DPP. Well, Nisi argued that up until now, Kelly is not one of the accused persons before court. He asked what is worth not pursuing in terms of that picture. He said that he would flog this horse until it is alive. And I said, yes, Nisi, no way in hell are you going to let this horse go.
Hit the horse until it stands.
Yes! Yithi hlala wena mdisi hlala kule ntaba le yakaKelly le ibalekile. It's very important. So Mnisi now went to the summary of the memorandum and the statement for the warrant of arrest that Gininda read yesterday on record. So Mnisi stayed on the DPP and the theory of contractual killing for quite a bit. He was not on the charges. He was now on the charges that the DPP said they must face at the High Court. He mentioned them. And it was 1:45. It was, the way it was flowing, he even forgot that there was a short adjournment. It's amazing how even Advocate Baloyi or Dr. Sibanda there could not recall
the break time.
That there was tea time. It flowed. And then Mnisi said that the office of the DPP says that to you, those are the factors that you have taken into account in determining the nature of the charges that you're going to prefer against these people that you have decided to indict. And the office of the DPP says to you, we know and understand that you undertook a very tedious investigation. You did your job in a sterling way. There's no doubt about it. You made a wonderful presentation in terms of your memory, and your investigation is uploaded. We are well aware that your investigation, you had tried to come up with the suggestion that this could have been a hit. This could have been a hired contract killing when we made this decision. However, where you are unable to agree with you is where you say that this was a contractual killing. Advocate Baloyi raised again and said that murder is murder. What the motive is irrelevant. So he's telling us that the NPA does not care about the motive behind a person committing a murder. Let that sink in.
How is the judge supposed to give a judgment if the motive is not clear?
There?
Because the severity of a judgment depends on the motive.
There was motive that Judge Erasmus there in Cape Town hammered on with regards to Jocelyn, and the motive that was said was that Kelly had spoken that she sold the child to a Sangoma. He hammered on that.
So the judgment's going to be a bit harsher because there was thinking that was put into it. Then there was meditation around it, and then you eventually took that decision. You continued after days of being given a chance to change your mind.
And it because also of motive that in Rosemary's case we found out that she was a gambler.
Yes.
Do you understand why?
So even if we give you a
concerning?
light sentence, you're still gonna go out and you have this sickness. You go to gamble. So we must give you a harsher sentence.
So no wonder why the level of investigations is so poor. Now it makes sense. If you're gonna go and utter stuff like this, the whole nation watching who care about justice, who are wondering
That's why
if a crime has been committed against me, must I go and lay a charge? Is it worth it?
This NPA has emotions. The problem is bashulo omothos bahamba bambutha manje bambutha bampindizile ile kegere yambutha manje ibutha ngekhaya.
But he voluntarily left. It did not look like he was voluntarily leaving the country.
Ile keg ibhazopele kegere basikujongile sikufuna.
Oh my God. I was like, yo, and I heard them, they said that they were going to appeal the judgment. And I'm like, on what basis are you going to appeal? You have nothing to appeal with. There was nothing. Prosecutors did not work. What are you going to appeal?
Amazemekufuna mfana. Uzoyithola inhlamvu endlini yakho. So hayi, sithi siyamvakashela safica inhlamvu.
I no wonder why the investigations are so poor. Like, yo.
Sithi siyotshintsha ibhlukwe. Savele safica inhlamvu nje lapha ngaphansi kombhede esikhwameni. Sithi siyofuna ID. You know how many times they explained the situation of accused number one?
Hey.
Babeyoshintsha ibhlukwe, bayoshintsha ayofuna ID, then bafumana inhlamvu.
In a black plastic bag.
Mayisikufuna le genge izokutapa ndoda, iyakutapa ke ndoda idlala kanjalo. Izokutapa ke le genge. Yabazokuvuthi. Azokubuya la uphila.
They're not fans of investigating much.
Bathi hayi noma ungadlala 2 days estoksini, at least singinyisile.
Guys, siyahleka ngisho noma kubuhlungu eSouth Africa. We have been conditioned, you know, we have been conditioned to accept things that are insane.
Uphele uphethwe udlanye impela. Baba ngishithi.
Sure. Well, Baloyi said that even if counsel is arguing lightly to put something that is incorrect as to the motive, because he's now busy with the motive for the murder. Murder is the unlawful and intentional killing of a human being. What the motive is irrelevant.
Intentional killing.
It's the unlawful and intentional killing of a human being.
What happens if
it's unintentional?
If I drive and then a person jumps in, that's unintentional. Is it not murder?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's Baloyi's way of.
I'm just asking.
I don't know.
Okay, it's fine. Let's continue.
I wouldn't know. I have to study to understand. I don't know.
Let us continue.
So yeah, also they said that now with this point that he's making, you know, that question has to be asked, you know. It has to be asked. I'm thinking to myself, no wonder why the police just want to make arrests. There's not much investigations. And finding out why Senzo died, because of that question, if it had been asked, we would probably be in a different situation right now. That's just personally how I feel. That question is important. The motive is important, you know. It's just crazy. He further said that it's incorrect to make that proposition to the witness, that it was not taken into account, that the witness suggested that this is a contractual killing. That's a legal question. And the judge asked, does the DPP discuss strategy with you? Asking Gininda. And Gininda said, not in detail. You get it in the instances where it said...
The problem with Gininda, he is at a stage now where he's not able to read where the judge is going with these questions. The correct answer here was that they don't, which was the answer that was going to support
a simple no.
That answer was going to support what? The objection that Baloyi
was making,
to say that we don't discuss these things. Now, that element that she's putting in, sometimes you see that answer that is broader, it now gave Nisi the go ahead to continue. But if he was reading the room, he should have said no.
No.
Do you understand?
Mina ngizamile ngamthipa ngoba ngizwa at the first instance of him testifying that this is going to be a long journey.
Mind, because he's used to Mion. He goes around and answer one question in you know those people who do not know the answer.
Mohani was done in a week. It didn't even take a week, 3 days. He was done.
He came with attitude, that one.
But he was done.
And there's that one, the other policeman woman that came with the attitude, the one who found the bullet. That one came with attitude. It worked. That one.
Mhlekas.
That one. Very nice.
Mhlekas was not here to play. Mhlekas. Andiyibonanga. Ndiyibonile. Ka. So after the long adjournment now, Mnisi was saying that we are at the stage where he was laying out the basis of the decision of the DPP in respect to the indictment that is before the court as it relates to this accused persons. And he said, I was saying that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the message that he's communicating on the strength of this indictment is to the effect that despite your fervent efforts to come up with some kind of evidence in the case docket and probably in the memorandum to the effect that this could have been a hit or a contractual killing, in their mind, having gone through the evidence in the docket, the memorandum and whatever they could have took into account in the coming to this decision, they could not find any evidence that they can or that they can bring to court to proceed against these accused persons on charges based on the fact that this was a contractual killing. Gininda said that he was not sure, that's not what he was told, and he said that he's not sure if he can say they told him that they didn't find any evidence. That's why he said that's not his terrain. And he also said, and I think it's best, but to say that there's an assertion that they were of the view that there was no evidence, I'm not sure if I can agree with that. The judge asked, according to Mnisi, who said that? And Gininda said, he says it is the DPP. He doesn't give me a specific name. The judge says, so you are denying it, in other words. Gininda said, that's not what I was told, that they don't see any evidence. And Nisi then said, thank you, Brigadier. I'm saying this in the context of what I explained to you earlier on about me saying the DPP said to you. I think we're still on the same line with regard to that. The judge asked Nisi what he is putting to the witness, was it is his own imagination? And Nisi said no. The judge said Mnisi was insinuating that Gininda was there when the DPP and his staff was planning their modus operandi, like for instance saying that they don't find that it was a contractual killing, and this witness is saying that they don't find that it was a contractual killing, and this witness says that they never discussed it, but you are putting it as a fact. And Mnisi expressed that earlier on he had told the witness that he should not understand him in the context of him having been there. Well, the judge said it's incorrect to cross-examine a witness like that. That when you are talking like that about a particular individual in an office, it doesn't include him. No, if it includes him, you must tell him that on such and such a day, you were at the DPP's office, there was so and so, and you talked about this and this and that, and this was the decision. Not suppositions that he was putting to him, and he said that's not evidence. Well, Nisi thanked him and proceeded, and now he said he was on the office of the DPP, and he said that he will no longer say that they said to you this and that, and they said to you that scenario that he was using, that strategy. He had to change it now. But the DPP's office of the then took a decision that it did not align with your motivation and your investigation as contained in the docket, that it was a contractual killing. And he said, I'm not thumb-sucking that. This is a no imagination. This is what it is contained in the indictment, that this accused person were called upon to come and plead, right? And Gininda said that he disagrees. Perhaps the right connotation should not be completely aligned. And he said to Mnisi, but you say it's not aligned, and I disagree. Because in the memorandum, accused 1 up to 5 was presented and the DPP arraigned them. And that's a different situation when it comes to Kelly Khumalo. And that is why I said that's not my terrain. But to say it's not aligned, it will simply mean even accused number 1 up to 5, I made no representation to the DPP, and that's not correct. The judge asked Gininda, and he said, for my edification, do you write out section 105 notes concerning what the state is going to prepare or propose in this matter? And Gininda said no. This was him literally fixing that question. He was asking it again, but he asked it in a different setting to say that is Brigadier Gininda involved in the compilation of the indictment in the office of the DPP. So now he was saying section 105 notes, because obviously Brigadier Gininda is not going to know what section 105 notes are. Hey, Judge.
Zabuya.
I see you. I see you. So the judge said, because in terms of section 105, the prosecutor has to align the allegations against the persons who had been indicted, and he will present factual analysis that the evidence of the state is going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G in terms of the law. He is got to do it because you are appearing in the High Court. Then he flipped through a book. He read it, section 105A. It said the prosecutor may address court and adduce evidence. The prosecutor may at any trial before any evidence is adduced to address the court for the purpose of explaining the charge and indicting without comment to the court what evidence he intends using in support of the charge. But here, it's not really evidence that Advocate Nisi was hampering on. Remember, even with Bafana Mahungela's case, there was a time where they said that we know that the prosecutors can't reveal all of their evidence during the earlier stage, but at least give a reason as to why the person that's appearing before the court, they are a suspect. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I remember Bafana Mahungela being given pictures from a CCTV footage to say that he was spotted around the scene at the time. That's why he's a suspect. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Well, why are we being made to feel like we are stupid and stuff? They said the prosecutor may then examine the witness for the prosecution and adduce such evidence as may be admissible to prove that the accused committed the offense referred to in the charge sheet, or that he committed an offense of which he may be convicted on the charge. Then he went to 152B, where it says where any document may be received in evidence before any court upon its mere production, the prosecutor may read out such documents in the court unless the accused is in his possession of a copy of such document or dispense with the reading thereof, and this is written by the prosecutor. I don't recall at that Boxback appearance where the accused were given copies of their indictment. Do you recall any of such happening?
No.
They were asked to plead.
Yeah.
They were asked to plead, and all of them pled not guilty. Right.
Yeah.
So then he asked Gininda if he took part in such analysis, and Gininda said no. Nisi said that this is not what he was saying, which is true. He's not asking about that. He's asking about the contents. He's asking about the contents, the reason why the accused are saying that they committed this crime. And he said it would never be my submission or my argument that this witness, when the office of the Director of Public Prosecutor takes a decision, he gets to be a party there too. He said, I'm only putting to this witness a method of cross-examination, the gist of what the Director of Public Prosecution's decision is in relation to the trial that we are standing in relation to, that we are dealing with. The judge said it's fine. He said he had to understand whether does that or not. There could be prosecutors who do that, and there could be investigating officers who do it. So he was now acting like he just wanted to find out, while he went and pulled out the whole textbook and read a phrase and a paragraph that had nothing to do with what Mnisi was asking. But it's fine. Okay, it's okay. He said, but I'm telling you what the law says should happen before the case is commenced, with, because the law says the accused himself must be appraised of the allegations which are contained in the indictment against him, and there is a duty on the prosecution to summarize that type of evidence. And I'm asking that because it has been put to you, for instance, about there was evidence which purports to support a contract killing. It's not against anybody. He said that he just wanted to understand the modus operandi, or how the DPP, after signing the indictment, that it was what it was encapsulated in it. You know, like he doesn't know after 45 years of practicing in the law fraternity. It's fine. Mnisi expressed that he needed to sum it up. And I also agreed with him at this point, because I was tired, Mr. Anonymous. I was like, this is long. Today's proceedings honestly felt like, it's a drag. So Mnisi explained an indictment is a document that introduced the accused to court and the allegations that are against them. In other words, it is a document that gets presented to the court. The court is informed that this accused person that we are bringing before you are not here for something else other than what we have mentioned in the indictment. Now, in that document, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, having gone through the evidence that you had submitted to them for a decision, they could not find reasons, for whatever reasons that they could have heard. They could not find those reasons to align themselves with the investigation that says that this was a contractual killing. Baloyi objected that he had already made an objection regarding this line of questioning. He drawed Mnisi to section 144 subsection 3, which says that the indictment must be accompanied by summary of the substantial fact, but that those summaries are not binding on the state's evidence is presented to the court, on the basis of which a decision is made. Listen to how it says an indictment and summaries, right? Hold that thought. And he said that a summary of the substantial fact is not binding on the state. So what is not binding on the state is what is being presented in this court. Right?
Yeah.
Not the indictment, actually, now that I think about it. Because yesterday he was emphasizing that there's a summary. Was he not the one saying that? So the judge,
the summary is not binding. The summary is just made to make the job of a judge also, and the people that are involved easy. It can be a binding thing. What is binding, obviously, is indictment.
The judge said Baloyi must read it, because you'd find that there are certain judges who may not know what he's talking about.
He wanted to say there are certain lawyers.
I don't get Baloyi read it. Then it was time for Advocate Mnisi to respond. He responded and he said that he was not here to blow his own trumpet. It's not in his nature. Okay, he said that all his colleagues had been reading, or what they had been reading must be understood contextually. He said when that section says that the Director of Public Prosecutions or a prosecutor is not bound by the information in the summary of substantial fact, this is what is being referred to. Remember, the indictment is a substratum. In other words, it's a foundation of these accused persons, why they are here, for the reason why the accused persons have been brought to court. Now, to give a bit of a brief summary of why the accused are before court, then the legislature came out with that summary of substantial fact. In other words, the legislature saw it necessary to inform the court that when we say that this person has stolen, the court must not be seated there and wondering whether this person has stolen a couch, or this person has stolen a hiking, or has stolen ships, or whatever. The court must already have a clue that when the prosecutor says that the person that is appearing before me is charged with theft, I must know that I will have to listen to evidence that is dealing with the theft of a motor vehicle. So the judge said, does it follow, sir? Asking Mnisi. And Mnisi said, I'm still addressing the court. That is basically the intention of a summary of substantial fact. But where is the foundation? The foundation is in the indictment itself. The indictment that is speaking about theft. That clause that says that this is a prosecutor is not bound by the summary of substantial fact. It simply refers to the simple modalities as to when could the theft have happened, as as to how the theft was committed, who was involved in the theft, but cannot change the foundation and say that the foundation says this is theft, and then come and say when you are leading evidence that this was murder. You can't do that, because then you are changing the substratum. In other words, in an example of a house has got a foundation, which is the indictment. Then the summary of substantial effect are the simple modalities of the house. You can play around with where you want to go and fit the window. What should be the color of the house? Whether you want the roofing to be there, to be a tile roofing or a corrugated iron roofing or a thatch roofing, but you definitely cannot change the substratum. An indictment, it's a foundation, which is why in terms of section 351 of the Constitution, just before I could finish, the judge interjected and said that he thought they were talking about section 144 and he had a problem with Mnisi now adding another section to support his argument.
Confining someone to one way of thinking.
Then he said that he will read it for himself. He said that he was not bound. It's an absolute prohibition. And Mnisi said that he was explaining. Then the judge said it's fine. And Mnisi continued to say that we've got the indictment, which is the foundation. And we got a summary of substantial fact that tells the court that this indictment and what it's all about. But if the state in the indictment has included something like time, which is not right, probably it would say on about, like he gave an example that on the 7th of October 2019 at about 10 in the evening this theft happened, and the evidence says no, this theft actually happened at about 10th of October 2019 at around 4 in the afternoon. Those are just simple modalities. You cannot change the fact that you are dealing with the theft of a motor vehicle. That is what section 114 says. When it says the state is not bound, but it does not simply mean that willy-nilly neither a state can change from saying this is a theft of a motor vehicle and say now it's a murder. There was now a back and forth where the judge cut Mnisi before he could finish and wanted Baloyi to respond. Then Mnisi said he wasn't finished and he was not done. And then the judge asked him again and then he said he was done. But Baloyi said that Mnisi wanted to bind the witness to a view he held at the time. That's not evidence. So he's simply saying that Mnisi wanted to bind Brigadier Gininda to what he was thinking, that this was a hit before the court proceeded or started. So a decision must be made on the evidence that would have been presented at the end of the trial. And he said it's an argument he can present at the end of the trial. Evidence is still being presented in court. Mnisi said that it is because of this witness that the accused are before court. He had to go through his evidence step by step, and he asked if there was anything in law that prohibited him to do that. And if there's any thing, then they should inform him. One thing about Advocate Mnisi, he can argue for dear life, and I must say I enjoyed his arguments very much, and he knows the law thoroughly. So Baloyi's tricks are honestly not working this time around. They are not. And Mnisi read Gininda all the charges that are against the accused, and Mnisi said that there's no way in the summary of the indictment where a plot to kill or a conspiracy to murder is mentioned. Baloyi interjected and said that the indictment said that the state will allege that the accused were acting in the furtherance of a common purpose. And the common purpose could have been anything like a robbery instead of a hit. That's my opinion. What is the common purpose? Why did he write it like? Why did the DPP, write it like this? It's very vague.
Yeah.
So Mnisi then said a furtherance of a common purpose in committing what offense? You don't read these things in isolation, and basically it's just an argument. There's no pertinent allegation in the indictment that says that the accused persons will be standing trial here at the High Court because they conspired with Kelly Kumalo to kill the deceased in this matter. There's no such an allegation in this indictment. That clause that says that the accused acted in furtherance of a common purpose refers to the charges that are contained in the indictment, which excluded the fact that they conspired with Kelly Kumalo to kill the deceased. And that is the decision of the DPP. And I was thinking to myself silently, Mr. Anonymous, you know what I was thinking?
No.
I was thinking, where's Gerrie now? Where is Colonel? Is he listening to all of this? He was saying that it was a contractual killing. Okay. So, and the indictment was written common purpose. So Gininda said that it's difficult. The document was crafted by the DPP, which is the NPA. He's not sure how to talk to that. That's the body that is invested with the powers to indict. Mnisi said he was not here to beat his own drum, and he told him that this is not an indictment on him. It's not an indictment on the prosecution. He's not suspecting him nor the prosecution. It's just the facts that are contained in the documents used to bring the accused before this court. So Gininda said that he can't speak on behalf of the NPA, and Mnisi said any endeavor that seeks to lead evidence to demonstrate that this was a contractual murder or a hit would go against what is contained in the indictment. In other words, the evidence would be irrelevant. So Baloi said that they already made an objection that murder remains murder. What the motive is irrelevant. And Mnisi said the defense does not dispute that there is no murder in the indictment. It simply admits that but murder, which occasion, under which circumstances. I'm still baffled by why the motive of murder is not that important in the NPA's pursuit for justice, but that's a topic for another day. And Mnisi said, I'm putting it to you, Brigadier, that the evidence that you have led in this court trying to prove or demonstrate that this was a contractual killing or a hired assassination finds no applicability in what is contained in that indictment. It is therefore irrelevant. Gininda said that he disagreed. Motive is something else, but the fact for the firearm cartridges being found at the scene, he means those ones that were found, the firearm that was found in an open seal bag, and the cartridges that were found by Mhlahlo the following day at around 2 p.m. after other police officers had checked the scene. That's what he's talking about. And he said he could not conceal what he discovered and would not be in the interest of justice, speaking like he did investigations. So Mnisi emphasized that the evidence is still irrelevant, and Mnisi now moved to the day he arrested accused 1, the communication between accused 1 and Sergeant Mohola, which led to Sergeant Mohola to call Brigadier Gininda to meet them at the Vosloorus police station. And he asked him, when you received the call from Sergeant Mohola, where were you? Gininda said he doesn't recall, but definitely not in North Rand. North Rand is the area where Vosloorus is based, where the accused was. He said he can't remember at this stage. And Mnisi asked him, when you met him at the Vosloorus police station, where were you? And he said it's not a walk-free area. He asked whether he met him in the streets of the police station or whether he met him in the yard. And Gininda said they met at a parking lot of the police station. And Mnisi asked, would I be correct to say that it was within the precinct of Vosloorus police station? Gininda said yes. So Mnisi then asked him, that could have just happened just before sunset? And Gininda said no, it was around 1900 hours in 1930. That's when he met him, and he said it was dark. Gininda confirmed that he introduced himself to him, and he said the accused was sitting in a vehicle. That's accused number 1. He was introduced by Sergeant Mohola to Mabena, and he said they were close to Buthelezi, even though he can't remember. He said he told him his name. He told him about him being the leader of the investigating team and the rank that he held at the time. And he said that he showed him his appointment card. Gininda confirmed that he knew that this was a high-profile case through the media. And he said that his focus was in the difficulty of solving the case instead of the high profileness of the case. Gininda confirmed that the suspects were a mystery, and he said it's not the case was completely silent or it had no leads or that no leads were followed. Prior arrest had been made, and he was speaking in reference to the arrest that was done of Zamokuhle Mbata in 2014, and in 2020 was the first time that an indictment from the DPP was issued. So Mnisi then asked the question again. He said he was not talking about indictments. Gininda said that it's incorrect. A few days after the deceased died, Mbata was arrested back in 2014. Then the charges were withdrawn. Then Mnisi asked him, the charges being withdrawn, does it not take the case back to where it was with no suspects? And Gininda said it does. conviction on the same page, but arrest different page. There is another arrest of Zamokuhle Mbata, and Mnisi asked that at the time he arrested accused number 1, was he already aware of how good practice, or aware of good practice, which included fairness and objectivity? Gininda said that he was aware, and he said that it started for him under cross-examination with advocate Ngomezulu in the trial within a trial. He said he had to take another officer to take the confession. He said that Section 35 of the Constitution supersedes the good practice. If he says we can talk without an attorney, the results of that discussion, he said, will guide what you can do. So Mnisi said that he was tired. He said that he would be doing Mr. Sibia a disservice if he continues in that state. But luckily enough, there was like around 12 minutes left before the adjournment. So even Advocate Baloyi didn't object. He asked, Umnisi asked for an early adjournment. So yeah, that was pretty much it, you guys. I'm done. Brigadier Gininda is a tiring witness, but we are here for it.
Thank you, guys. That's it. No, see people saying that they don't see you. Unfortunately, yeah, all my machines are hot now, so they had to switch themselves off, unfortunately.
Okay, they are.
Doka Shabalala, thank you very much. We see you. Thank you. We appreciate you. God bless you. And just thanking Sizwe for being here. Thanking Mamfuneka. I see your story, Mamfuneka. You were looking at, I think you said you were passing, or you saw, who's this guy? Who was on Mojalav? Who's on the, who's this guy? Kumalo, something Kumalo.
Oh, Xolani Kumalo.
Kumalo, yes. And you're saying he was facing a lot of people who are from, is it North? Yeah. Yeah, so in a court, I think it's in a court or something like that. I didn't see it, but yeah. Basically, Sibonge Guwe Tsidi, Mohapi. Yes, our member, Laura, our member, complaining about the screen. Sorry, man, Laura. Eva, thank you. Let's press the like button, guys. Tembelani Kanye, thank you. See. Inbamba nje phezulu emadlebeni sithi Ntokozo Mbatha, thank you. Cian Poker, hi, it's been a while, Poker. I've not seen your comment, but yeah, happy that you're here. Liviva, I think, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Songelo Ndlovu, siyabonga mfowethu. Thusi William Lihuzo, thank you. Sibonga kakhulu. Zodwa Msimango, siyabonga. David Chidi, thank you. Dave Chidi, thank you. Let me sit down because I'm reading standing. The chair is hot. Let's continue. Innocent Shahadeb, siyabonga. Tulandla means bong, thank you. Gimbamba nje Falake Laki, thank you. Muzwake Radebe, thank you. Zimbamba nje from the back to the front. Takawira siyabonga, thank you. Hlanjiwe Sibanda, thank you. Siyabonga. Sibone ukuthi siza kanjani. Yeah. Njalo ndaba bafethu nginibamba nje ngiyadlula zodwa, thank you. Mlambo design, sorry checking about NA. Sibambe ululama sirai, ever present. Sibonga kakhulu nganza kwethu, hayi kuyabheda mamzo siyabonga. Mojalifa siyabonga. Sibuke njalo Dipuo siyabonga kakhulu. Nkululeko Mlojo siyabonga. Victor siyabonga. Victor Matsunyane siyabonga kakhulu. Prudence sibonge nje. Sithembile Mkhwanaza our member hawu siyabonga member sibonga kakhulu size nje njalo Eric Lutendo sibonga kakhulu lindiwe siyabonga iza nje kancane ngizoze nginiqede akekho ozosala backyard mechanic sibonga kakhulu Zwakhe Radebe sibonge Khola Nosep sibonge thank you all the way from Namibia. I think I remember this he's talking about Gerrit Cliff who had Mpofu as his defense. I remember this comment earlier sitibamba nje kanjalo mzwakhe Moses ZW siyabonga Zakhele Gumede sibonga kakhulu sibone Prince Dube siyabonga Prince Blessing Mabena sibonge Nelson Neli siyabonga uzakhele sengimbizile Petros Lapho sibonga kakhulu Omamnisi siyabonga Ntsikelelo Vani siyabonga Sfiso Sindane our member, thank you very much Sfiso our member Msizi Mashishwane siyabonga kakhulu sibone khona salayo ngephutha ngathi nginibambe nje nonke ngaze nganiqeda khona sala ngephutha sibone Jacobin thank you siyabonga sibambe nje who's Sibusiso and Tsibande siyabonga Sibusiso Tsibande umzonge lokho khona sibone Everly cute sibonge Sicelo Mloyi sibonge Pink Indlovu sibonge size nje nabo kahle kamnandi Chris Newo sihlako sibonge Nongana siyabonga Nongana bathu bani le Terry madodana siyabonga sazi lodwa noma sibize kandlela yakhona Ignitia awusibonga kakhulu Ignitia ever present uChris Newo I think I've mentioned you sibonga futhi lindiwe God bless you Francis Sekwat siyabonga Olani Junior Mkalipi thank you ubani manje ubani Kapsile siyabonga Kapsile Nguni sibonge Mthimkhulu ever present sibonge Botho siyabonga Mulilo siyabonga Mulilo siyabonga Messi number 2 siyabonga Deni sibonge kakhulu kakhulu makhona ngibashili guys please forgive me Njomane 83 uthi hello qamuka nje uzoyibamba egcineni Ndumiso Masengemi sibonga kakhulu uNdumiso Masengemi uthi nje mi Victor ngibizile Victor ngibizile ubani uCN Phoka ngembizile guys bafethu nje ulike umzwakhe Radebe ngembizile ever ngimbizile Khawukhalelwe siyabonga kakhulu ever present also Khawukhalelwe nje kinjalo indaba bafethu thank you very much God bless you nilale nje nibe nokulala okuhle abavuka bevuke kahle and until today later I hope it's going to be today not tomorrow thank you very much guys siyavala Thusopule sivala ngawe mfethu sithi danke bye bye